So in the last session, we have discussed about string methods. What are different string methods, important string methods we have learned, right? And also we have seen like how to use them, how to use each method, what each method returns, right? So all those string methods are useful and we are gonna use that in the coming sessions. In this video, so in this session, like we'll discuss about some string function, some string features. Okay. So first of all, let us start with how to reverse a string. How to reverse a string. So say for example, I have a string called Selenium. Okay. Selenium. So I wanted to reverse the string. So how do we do that? We'll see that now. So how to reverse a string. So in this case, so we have taken example Selenium, right? So we wanted to reverse this string Selenium. So how do we do that? Let's see. I have a string called Selenium and I wanted to reverse it. Reverse it in the sense like we wanted to get output something like this. So this is my string and I wanted output as in a reverse order. M, U, I, N, E, L, E, S. So this is what we are expecting the output as. Just we are reversing the string characters, right? That's what we call it as reversing a string, right? So we have taken this as an example now and just observe. So again, like how do we reverse it is, so each character in a string is one index. So what we do is here, this is 0th index, 1, 2, and so on, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7th index. So Selenium is of 8 characters. So it starts with 0th index and ends with 7th index, right? Now, how do we reverse it? So we can write a loop here, right? We can write a loop and how we wanted to start? We wanted to start with the last character. We wanted to start with the last character. So we'll take an index, we'll initialize the index to from 7. And then what we'll do, so we'll just print the character and then we'll decrement the index value. Then we'll have the index as 6, right? So 6. Then we'll print the character. Then we'll again decrement the index. So it will become 5. So and so on, right? So till index becomes 0. Till index becomes 0. Once index becomes 0, we should stop the loop. So that will be our logic, right? So let's start writing that logic. So for that, let me create a package and class for today. So I'll just say day 9 as my package name. I'll create a new class. I'll name the class as reversing the string. We'll see different methods how to reverse a string. So this is the first method we'll see now. So for this, what we are going to use is we are going to use two methods, two string methods that we have learned in the last session. So first, let's start with having a string. So my string is Selenium. As we have already learned, like how to take this input, how to read this input from, standard input called keyboard. You can use the scanner class to take this input dynamically. So if you wanted to read an input at runtime, you can convert this. We already learned it. For now, I'm just hard coding this value into some string object, right? Now, we wanted to store the reverse string. So we wanted to store the reverse string. So for that, I have taken another string object, right? Now, we wanted to start the loop. So how do we want to start the loop? So we need the initial value, right? So what will be our initial value? I will be 7 in this case, right? So we can write 7. We can start it with 7. But say for example, I include some other text to Selenium. Then we need to change the length, right? So we should not hard code this index. Instead, what we will do is we will get this dynamically, or we will have this, as a variable. So we should not be hard coding some number like this, but instead we'll get the actual starting index. So how do we get the starting index for reversing a string? So it will be the last index, right? So how do we get the last index 7 here? So if you observe, if you remember, so we can actually use the length here. So string length method we have used. We learned like the length method of string actually returns the size of the string. So size of the string here is 8 characters if you observe. So it will be 8 characters. Length is actually the actual length. You can start it with 1, 2, 3 like that and you count it. So the length is 8 characters. So even though it is 8 characters, the last index will be 7 as the index starts with 0. So how that's a hint for us. So we can get the last index using the length. So how do we get the length? String dot length is the method. But if you take string dot length, length is 8, right? So it will start with 8. But we have wanted to start with 7. That is 1 minus the string length. So we'll write the logic as, so it has to start with 1 less than the length and it has to be continued till 0, right? We'll decrement each time. We'll decrement index value each time and then we will actually check this condition. If index still greater than 0, then fine. Go ahead and print the character. So what's the character? Character is, so how do we retrieve the character now? So we wanted to store the reverse string in another variable called reverse string, right? So reverse string equal to reverse string plus, so how do we get this character? We wanted to get a specific character in a string. So how do we get it? We have the index. We have learned this yesterday. So how do you get it? I have an index and I wanted to get a particular character in the string at a particular index. Anyone remember that? We use caret. We use another method called caret. String caret, right? So string dot caret index. We will specify the index. Space with its index, whatever index it is pointing to caret, we will get that. So whatever index it is pointing to, the character which is at that position at that index will be returned, right? So that's what the caret method does. This is what we learned in the last session, right? Now, in this example, say the last character m will be returned, right? Reverse string is already empty. We initialize it to empty. So empty plus m. So m will be stored. And can we use shorthand operator here? Yes. So we can use shorthand operator here. So how do you use shorthand operator? We can just say plus equal to. So this is equivalent to the this statement, right? So this is shorthand operator. All right. So now each character. So first m is displayed, right? Then I is decremented. Index is decremented by 1. So it will become 6, right? 6 greater than 0, true. And then reverse string equal to, we already have reverse string as m. So m equal to m plus, what is the string at character I? It is u. So we'll have mu, decrement 5, I, like that, right? So we will debug this. First, let's display that. First, let's run this program. And you can see now, my console. Okay, we didn't display it. We just calculated it, but we wanted to display it on the console. Finally, we'll display it on the console. Reverse string is, Yeah, you can see we are getting the right output. So this is the output which is matching this, right? So you can see muineleS, right? So this is the reverse of the string Selenium. All right. So how did it calculated? We'll see that now. So let's debug it. So to debug it, you have to toggle the breakpoint here at the point where we wanted to pass the control. And then if you remember, we need to do debug as instead of run as. So it opens the debug perspective and it halts the control execution here, right? Now we have to press F6. So if you see the index value, I is 7 now because length minus 1. String dot length is 8, right? 8 minus 1 is 7. So I starts with 7, index 7, right? So this is the reason you see index value as 7. Now, if you observe, reverse string is still empty. Observe only these two values now. Now, I'm gonna press F6 again. So this statement is executed already. And you can see reverse string already has m in it. And now it goes back to the loop and it decrements the I value. Now see, observe, I value becomes 6, decremented. Now caret 6, it has to get the next character like u in reverse, right? And it has to add it to the existing reverse string. Existing reverse string is m. So see, it adds it to the m. Mu is the new reverse string value now. And now, and so on, right? So I is 5 now. So I character will be added to the reverse string. Now, see, 4. At 4, the n is there, and so on, right? So if you observe, it goes on, adds it, and last index is 1 now. So even 1 will execute, and you get yes, and then I will become 0. I is 0 now. And you can see I become so we came out of the I loop. So I was -1, -1 greater than or equal to 0 was false, so it came out, right? And we got the final string as the reverse string here, right? So once you execute this, that will be displayed on the console. So this is how we can reverse a string, right? This is one method. So we have multiple approaches, we have multiple methods. This is one method, how we can reverse a string, right? So very simple. We have used, what did we use here? We used two methods of string called length to calculate the length because we wanted to get the length of the string so that we can start the index with that at that position, right? So that's the reason we want to start with the index, last index. So for that reason, we required length. So using the length method, so you have to observe here. So this is the method. So as it is a string, we are using length method. So which is represented using this braces, right? And string length -1. So we have to start it with the index string length -1. So this is also important. With this, we were able to get the last index of the string. All right. Then we had a condition to repeat the index till the index is greater than or equal to 0. And every time we are decrementing the index by 1. And the another method we have used, string method, if you observe, we used caret method. So what does caret method does? It takes a index as the parameter and retrieves or reads the character which is at that position, at that particular index, whatever character we have in that string, that will be read. And we are just taking one more string literal, and then we are adding it to the, so we initialized it to the empty string, and then we are adding the each character in a reverse order. Based on the index, we are retrieving using the caret method and adding it to the reverse string literal or reverse string object, right? So, and 5. So we are repeating this till the index is greater than or equal to 0. Once it reaches this condition, we are coming out of the loop and we display the actual reverse string value, right? So I'm not, you can get this brace for the loop here as a open brace and a corresponding close brace, or you can even have it here. So by default, if you write the loop, it will have it in the same line as that of the loop. I'm gonna have it like this from now onwards. So this is one method to reverse a string. So we'll see another method now, how to reverse a string. So second method. So how we are going to do this here? here is. So let's actually comment this out till here, or we can have this. We'll just comment this. So what we are gonna do is we are gonna convert our string into array. So we are gonna convert string into array, that to character array. So how can we do that? We'll see that now. String dot to char array. So this is the method, another important method, like for string to convert into a char array. So what does it does is this will convert the string into the character type array. So each character in the string, right? So it will be added to a character array. So we know, right, how a character array will be. Say for example, it is something like this. So in this example, how it will be is like S is one character, E like this, and so on, right? This is how the string will be converted to, as we are converting it into character array. So toChar is a method of string, like string class, which actually converts the actual string into character array. So we have the character array now. Now we can use a method. So let's actually display this. So how do we display? How do we actually print this character array on the console? We can use a method of arrays called arrays dot to string, and you can pass char array to it. You can see this is the output, right? This is what we are expecting, right? So Selenium string has been converted into char array, and that char array we are displaying it on the console. All right. So this is fine. Now we wanted to reverse these characters in the character array. So again, it's like same as the above method. So we do have character array now. Each character array in the array, it's like a, it's like again a index, or you can actually get this from the array, starting from the, so how again array is index based, right? So char array is no exception to that. Again, like each character in this array is represented with one index. So again, if it is representing with the index, like again, we are going to start the loop, then we'll start it with the length of the array. So this time it's no more a string. So it's a character array, right? So it's an array of character data type, right? So it's an array. So how do we get the length? We get the length using length variable or length method, member, or property or attribute. We have seen this, right? So length is a property or attribute of an array, which actually returns the size of the array. We'll start with it. But again, like length will be the total length of the string. We wanted index 1 less than the length, right? So we'll start with it, and the same logic. So it has to be I greater than or equal to 0. Index has to be repeated till index is greater than or equal to 0. And every time we are going to decrement the index value. And then we'll print reverse string is same, like this. So what did we do here? We are actually converting the string into char array. So now that we are familiar with the array, so we are converting the actual string, given string into char array. So we have an output as char array now. So just for our information, we just displayed this char array. So this is a char array. Like any other array, this is an array of char data type, right? Character data type. Now we wanted to reverse this, reverse these characters in the array. So this is the reason we are starting with the index length -1, index greater than or equal to 0. Every time we increment the index by 1, and then each character. So how do we get the character from an array or any other array? So using the index, right? So we use the index to read the value from the character array. So as the index is starting with the last character, so last character will be displayed first and go and so on, right? So as we are doing this plus symbol here indicates concatenation, right? So we are concatenating each character to the reverse string. And finally, once the condition becomes false, then we come out of the loop and we are trying to display the reverse string, because that will be the actual reverse string of the original string, right? So this is the second method. So very important. So important interview question as well. Like, so direct question. So interviewer gives you a string and asks you to reverse a string. So you can either follow the first approach. First method will be more than enough. So length, using the length and caret. But if they ask you not to actually use caret method, then so no other string method, then we can say that we can use this method, right? So we are not using caret method of string, but we are still able to achieve this. We can achieve this by converting the string into char array. Both methods, you can learn both methods. So you can start with this. You can write the logic with this method using the length and caret methods. But if there is any specific condition not to use string methods, then we can use this. So converting string into char array. So very important interview question. All right. So now let's see. There are two other methods. So we'll see that methods as well. So these methods uses the built-in methods to reverse a string. So the second method was using char array. Now we'll see method 3. So here we'll use a class called StringBuffer. StringBuffer is a class like string where we can have the value to it like this here. So this we have seen. We can even create a string object like this, right? So the same way we are creating the StringBuffer. So StringBuffer is another class, same as string class. So it is also coming from the lang package, java.lang package. Now if you observe, so if we take any other like arrays.toString, so arrays.toString, when we use this arrays class and a toString method in it, and when we wanted to display this array, right? So this arrays class is defined in a package called java.util, right? This is the reason we were importing the package. Now if you observe, we have been using string, right? String which is present in java.lang package. And also now we are using a new class called StringBuffer, which is also java.lang package. So which is present in the java.lang package. But we are not importing this java.lang package. So this is because it is done automatically. So for every class, there will be some classes, right? So some classes and some objects, right? So by default, we need to use some classes, define some classes which are required for each class when we are writing. So but automatically java.lang is imported, even though you specify the statement or not, implicitly that is written, and JVM considers that it is already present. That's a default package, java.lang package. So this is the reason we are not importing that package specifically. And this is only exception to this package, only java.lang package. Lang here represents language. So that's a basic language classes, and classes will be available in that package. So for that, whatever classes which are present in that package, we don't need to import the statement for that package. Like we don't need to import that package called java.lang. It is implicitly imported. All right. Now, so StringBuffer is another string class. So for now, just remember that StringBuffer is another string class. uh, another class like string, which is present in the java.lang package. And now we are going to use one built-in method or one predefined method within this StringBuffer class dot reverse. So there is a method which can actually reverse a string. So you can use this method directly to reverse a string. See, all the characters in the string Selenium got reversed here, right? So we just use the built-in method, which is already defined in a class called StringBuffer. So reverse is a method which is present in a class called StringBuffer, and a definition of how to reverse the characters in a string has been defined here. They already have defined that how to reverse a string characters, right? So we just need to know to use this method. That's it. So the string gets reverse, right? So this is a straightforward method, right? But most of the times, like when you get an interview question, interviewers will ask you not to actually use the built-in methods to reverse the string. But so that so yeah, even though it seems very simple, so you will have a condition when you are given this question in the interview. So you will be given a condition that so you should not use any built-in methods to reverse a string. So you have to achieve it using by writing a logic. That will be your condition. So then we have no other choice except to go for either method one or method two, right? So, but whenever we are writing a program, right, like whenever we are writing scripts, we can directly use the built-in method called reverse from the which is available in the string buffer class. So, in the same way, we do have another method. For this, we will use another class called string builder. We will come to this. What string builder is, what string buffer is, right? The syntax is similar to string buffer. So we'll initialize the string here while we are creating the object for the string builder, right? We'll initialize the string value here, and then we'll just use the method reverse. So even string builder class has a method called reverse, and a logic has been written within it to reverse a string. Let me comment this out, and now let's execute this statement. So you can see the characters in the Selenium got reversed, right? Selenium string got reversed, right? So using a built-in method, or we can call it as a predefined method, which is already defined in a class called string builder. We just need to know to use this method to reverse the characters in the string. So there are four methods, right? You can use any of these methods. So while writing the scripts, we can directly use these methods reverse. But in the interview point of view, so they will ask you to write the logic. So in that case, you can go for either method one or method two. And again, in that method one is preferred. All right. So this is all about reversing a string. So is that clear? All right. So let's jump on to the next topic. We'll go for string comparison. Let's understand string comparisons with an example directly. So let me take a new class. I'll create a new class. Say for example, I have some string called string1, which is, say for example, which is hello. I have another string called same hello. So string 1 and string 2. So defining or declaring a string and initializing a value to a string this way is called a string literal. So this string 1 and string 2 here, we call this as literals. String literal. Because we are not creating a new object using a keyword called new, right? So it's not a new object, but instead it's a string literal, right? So when we try to actually do this, like when we wanted to check the string equality, right? Using double equals to. So what happens? It actually checks the equality of these two strings, right? Now, if you see, it will return true because both the strings have the same content in it, right? So yeah, pay attention now. So this is important, and also you need to concentrate here, right? So now observe. I can use equals method as well. Yesterday we have learned this method. So equals method actually compares the content of the string, right? So and we also learned that it's always a best practice to use equals method to compare two strings. So we are comparing string 1 with string 2 here using equals method. So if you remember equals method, what it checks for? It checks for the exact length of the both strings has to be equal, and each character in the index of string 1 should match with the each character in the index of string 2, right? So if only then we'll call that as an equal strings, right? Equals. So even the case matters here, right? Only then we'll call that as equal, right? So even in this case, it has to return true. This is fine, right? True. Now observe. I'm taking another string. Now I'm declaring it using new object, right? So with this, what happens is a new string object gets created, right? Is created in the memory. Now, for example, I'll create another object, another string object. Now what we'll do? We'll compare string 3 with string 4. What will be the output? Any guesses? What will be the output? So, so like above, this is the way. This is what we call it as string literal. We are not creating a new string here. We have just created a string object and string literal, and then we initialized a value to it, right? This is a different way. We are creating a string object using new keyword, right? Again, like we are having the same content in it. And what are we doing here? We are comparing these two objects, right? Now let us see. So for now, I'll just comment this out. So to our surprise, it is false, right? So what happened here? So earlier it was string literal. So it's a string literal. Now it's an object. So object actually compares the object references, not the contents when we are using the double equals to. So to understand this, we need an understanding of how strings are stored in memory. So let's understand that now. So in Java, say for example, this is memory. And JVM has to allocate memory for each variables, right? Each variable and all the variables and all the objects, right? So this is what we call it as a heap memory. So this is a heap memory. And how the objects are stored. So string literals are stored in something called string constant pool. There is a separate reserved space called string constant pool where this strings literals are stored, right? We call this a string constant pool. Say now when we say string1 equal to hello, so what happens internally here is, so JVM actually checks if this string, if this content, right? So if this content hello is present in this string constant pool or not. So this is all heap memory, right? So within that, we have some special reserved space called string constant pool. And this is only specific to the string, remember. And within like heap memory, we have something called string constant pool. And within this pool, like when we say string1 equal to hello, right? So JVM checks that if hello, HELLO, this content is present in this string pool or not. If it is present, it will just return this reference to this string object, string1, str1, right? If it is not present, then what it does? It does actually insert that into string pool. It does insert into the string pool. So this hello will be displayed here, right? Or will be stored here. All right. Now, it is there already, right? Now, what's the use of this? So, observe now. When we declare string s, str2 equal to hello. So this time, this is a second literal, right? String literal. Now, we have the same content. Now, what should happen usually? So JVM has to create hello again, right? But it will not do that. It will actually search in the constant string pool if the same content is available. If it is available, it will just assign this value, right? So assign this reference to the this literal. It will not create again. So it will just verify if it is already present. Then it will just return the reference to this object or this literal called string2. So what happens? So the references are same. So both string1 and string2 are pointing to the same content within the string constant pool. Now, if you compare string1 equals to string2, right? So we are using this double equals to compares the references. So references in the sense memory location, where the memory. So each memory will have some, so we call that each memory will also have some address to it, memory address. We call it as memory address, right? So that to that particular memory location, it will have some address. So that we call it as reference, right? So the first string, once it is created, it will have its own reference. And when we are creating the second string, second literal, then what happens? The reference to the string, the same content which is present in the string pool, reference to it will be written, right? So this happens within the string constant pool. And this string constant pool is specific to the string literals, right? So string literals, whenever we create a new one, right? If it is present in the string constant pool is what JVM verifies. If it is not present, it will create a new one in the string constant pool and return the reference to it to the string one, right? If it is already present, then it will just refer, it will actually give you the reference of that to the literal which you are declaring, right? So very important. This is the reason when you do string equals to string2. So this double equals to actually verifies the references. References in the sense memory location. So both will be same as the reference of this string literal, these two string literals is same, right? So this is the reason we are getting true here. And equals method, anyway, it irrespective of the references, it only verifies the content, actual content present in the string. Actual content present in the string equals method. So what's the actual content? HELLO, right? So this is what it is comparing and it is returning true. This we have learned, right, in the last session. This we are fine with it. But this is new to us. When we actually use double equals to, it actually compares the references, right? So it is true. All right. So we are clear with the string literal, right? Now let's come to this point. Like let's come to this objects, right? So string 3, right? New string of hello. What happens now is, so here another, so an object gets created within the heap memory. So it is not the same as like string constant pool. It is different. So what happens here is, instead of creating a new one within the string constant pool, so an object gets created. So this is string 3, right? This is string 3, which is created new, like this. An object is created in the heap memory, which is like not at all related to the string constant pool. This is because we are specifying new keyword. So meaning, so I wanted to create a new object is what we are saying. So a new object gets created in heap. So JVM creates a new object in the heap memory. Now, so again, as this is an object, it will have its own memory address, right? So it will have its own memory address. Say for example, it will have something like we can't actually get the memory location. What will be the memory location? But just think it of like it's a separate memory, right? It's stored in the heap memory at some specified location. Now, so in the same way, like how we have string 3, so we are creating string 4 as well. So if you observe string 4 or string 4 also, what we are doing, we are explicitly specifying the keyword new string, right? So what happens in that case is another string gets created, and we call that as string 4, right? We are calling that as string 4. Fine, right? So this is another location in the heap memory. So another location at the heap memory. Now what we are doing, we are comparing string 3 with string 4. So what does this double equal to does? It actually compares the references of the objects, right? String 3 and string 4 are two objects here, two different objects. When we say two different objects, they are actually created in heap memory at two different memory locations, right? So this is one reference, this is another one. So the reference to string 3 is stored here, str3. In str4, string 4, reference to string 4 is written, right? We have that. Now we are comparing those two references. Will that be equal? No, definitely not. As these are the two different references, two different objects, so two different memory locations or two different references. We call that as references, right? Two different locations, two different references are compared. So that's the reason it is written false. And I wanted to, and I will be using equals method, like same as above. So what should it print? What will be the expected output? So string 3 and string 4 are two different objects, and we are using equals method here. So we understood like references. So we compare it with double equals to, and the references are not equal in this case. So it returned false. So we are using equals method here. Let's run this and verify. So if you see, it returns true this time. So this is because equals always verifies the contents. It always verifies the contents of the string. Checks contents, right? This checks references. Again, very important. So whenever we are actually comparing the strings, we always, and our intention is to check the contents, we always need to use the equals method. Always a best practice to use the equals method. Only then contents of the string will be verified. So if you wanted to compare the references in rare cases, then we can use the double equals to. So in some cases, we wanted to verify if both objects are same, right? So say for example, I wanted to actually, compare two objects, right? Say equality of the objects itself. If both the objects are same, so in that case, we can use double equals to. Or in most of the cases, when we wanted to compare the contents of the string objects, then we always need to go with the equals method. So let's verify another case. Say for example, I have some string file, and I'll have something called Java in it. So this is a string literal, right? So now I'll have string 6. This time I'm going to create a new object, new string object, not a literal string object. I'll have the same content. Now observe. So we have seen two string literals. So two string literals is done. So we understood like two string literals when we create, both will point to the same which is present in the string constant pool. This is the reason both the references and equals method will return true. Equals method anyway will return true because both the contents are same. But we wanted to concentrate more on this reference now, right? So these references will also be true in case of string literal because both are referencing to the same string, as this is a string literal. So both points to the same string reference within the string constant pool. So literals always are stored in string constant pool by JVM, and it references the same string literal if it is present in the string constant pool. If it is not present, it will create a new string. Right now, we have taken another example, right? So two objects, we have created two new objects. So two new objects gets created in heap memory. It's not at all related with the string pool. It is created in the heap memory. As these two are new objects, completely new objects, we are specifying explicitly using new keyword to create new objects. So these are created at a different memory locations in heap memory. So JVM now, if you wanted to compare these references, these two references will be not equal, right? So this is the reason we get a false in this case. And if you wanted to again compare the contents, only contents of these two objects, like again, we need to use the equals method, which will actually check for the content equality. Content equality will be true. Now we are taking the combination. So this is like case 3, right? So case 1 is two objects. Case 2 is two objects. What was our case 1? So this is our case 1, where we are comparing two literals, right? Now we are case 2, we compare two objects. Now we are comparing two objects here. Now we are doing it combination in case 3. One string literal and one string object. Now see, observe. What should happen? I want to compare now string 5 with string 6. We'll also use equals method. All right. What will be the output for this? The highlighted part. It's simple. Using this, how the object and literals are stored in memory. So if you understood that, so you can easily answer this. So let's run this and verify. So it's clearly false, right? So the first one is false and the second one is true as usual. Because again, string 5, the reference of it. So the reference, it is present within the string constant pool, right? And string 6 is a new object. So it will be present in another location. So string 6 will be present in some other location, like it could be somewhere here, right? So we call it as string 6. So the reference of it will be different when compared to a string literal, which is present in the string constant pool. This is the reason the first statement is returning false. Now we'll see another case. Say for example, I have hello, right? Now I'll take string 2, but this time I'm going to create a new object. Content will be same. Now we know when we compare string 1 with string 2, this we have seen. So this will return false. Fine. And also when we wanted to compare contents, we'll use the equals method. This also we have seen. Equals method anyway is going to return true. This also we know for these two statements, right? So it will compare contents. So it will be true. It will compare the first statement will compare references, so it will be false. As new object, so it will be created as a separate object, right? All right. Now, this we know. Now, what? Observe. Now, what I'm doing? String 3, I'm going to copy it as string 2. Now, we'll compare string 2 equals string 3. Will this return true or false? So what did we do here? This two we know, like it's a string literal and the second one is string object, right? And we know the output of this. I just written like that, right? So now this is new to us, like one object. String 2 is one object, right? So we are copying that into, we are assigning that into a new string called string 3. And we are comparing that with string 2. So will this be true or false? So let's execute and verify. The first two statements, we are sure it will be false and this will be true. Now, if we say this is true. So why this is true? So we are assigning string 2 to string 3. We are directly assigning the reference. So string 2, though it is a new string, what we are doing? I wanted a string 3, but I wanted to have it as same as string 2 is what we are saying. So the complete reference of string 2 will be copied into string 3. So as string 3 is also string 2, like it is also pointing to string 2, same, right? So both are pointing to the same reference, right? So this is the reason string 2 equals to string 3 is written true. As this, we did it intentionally, right? String 2 has been copied or made to reference to, string 3 is made to reference to string 2. So this is the reason when we actually validate the references of string 2 and string 3, both are same. You can see here the result true, right? Again, like if you wanted to compare this contents is equals, right? So we use the equals method. Equals method anyway returns true because it actually compares the contents of the two strings. Contents of the two strings are hello, right? So string 2 was hello. So that was copied into string 3. So string 3 will also be similar to string 2, but it's not a new object. Observe here, we didn't create a new object. We just copied string 2 into it. So string 3 will also point to the same object called string 2, right? So this is the reason equals will return anyway. It will check the equality for the content equality, and it is returning true. So these are the different cases, like we have to know, like how strings are stored in memory and how they are referenced in each case. Is this clear? We are going to discuss another topic related to this. So this has to be clear. Is this clear? How strings are stored and managed in memory by JVM. Very important. Like you'll be getting a direct interview question asking for why can't I use double equals to compare strings? Why you are using equals method? So direct question. So which is preferred and why? So our answer should be very clear. So it's better always we actually have this picture in mind. So how strings are stored in memory by JVM, right? So always string literals are stored in string constant pool, right? String constant pool. So when we create a literal, it will create a string literal if it is not already present in the string constant pool. JVM first verifies if this literal is present in the string constant pool. If it already present, it will just return the reference of it to your string literal. Or if it is not present, it will create a new one in the string constant pool. So what's the advantage of this? So doing this, like it's like memory efficient, right? So we are not filling up the memory with all the duplicates. So JVM is acting smart here so that it is actually not creating the duplicates of the literals. Instead, if it is present, it is actually returning the reference of that, right? So you can say like you doing like this, minding the string constant pool. So it is memory efficient. So memory will be used very less, right? So that's the main advantage of having the string constant pool. String constant pool. So, string constant pool, so it is memory efficient. So memory will be used very less, right? So that's the main advantage of having the string constant pool. So, that's the main advantage of having the string constant pool. So, that's the main advantage of having the string constant pool. So, All right. Now, as this is clear, so we'll jump on to the next topic. So double equals to was used to comparing object references, that is memory locations, right? And equals is used to compare the content of the objects. So what is recommended to actually use the contents? So to compare the content, equals method is recommended to compare the strings. So whenever we are comparing strings, mostly we will be using, you know, we wanted to compare the contents. That's the reason equals method is always preferred. And now we'll discuss another important topic. String is mutable, meaning once we create a string, we can't change it. So string is mutable, meaning we can't change it. So once we create a string, we can't change it. So there are two terms, immutable, cannot be changed, and mutable, can be changed. So if you take string, string is immutable. String buffer, mutable. String builder, we use these classes. When we wanted to reverse a string, we used a built-in method called reverse within from these two classes, and we were able to reverse the string, right? So now it is back again. Like we wanted to understand that more, right? So string is immutable, string buffer and string builder are mutable. So what does that mean? String, we cannot be changed. Once it is created, it cannot be changed. But string buffer, it's mutable, it can be changed. So to understand it, so let's take an example. Let's create a new class. I'll call this as string string buffer and string builder. So we'll discuss this now. String buffer, and string builder. So what do we mean by mutable and immutable? So we are claiming that string is immutable, right? So we cannot change string is what we are saying, right? So we are saying string is immutable, meaning it cannot be changed. So how can we prove that? So say for example, I have some string called hello, right? So say for example, this is my string, right? Now I'll create, or what I'll do is string dot concat. We'll do string dot concat. And then we'll add something like this. Hello world. So what happens? Both has to be concatenated and the output will be string hello world, right? So let's take this into some other string literal. This is fine for us, right? Now, if we try to display these two strings, I wanted to display string 1 first, and also string. Let's first display string 1. So what did we do for string 1? String is hello, right? It's a literal. It's created on the string constant pool. Fine. When we do string.concat, so hello, and then this string, whatever you are providing as a literal, as a parameter to this concat method. So this will actually append to this hello, right? And the result we are storing it in string one, right? So let's run this. So if you see hello world, right? So hello world has been displayed for string one. So string, if you see str, which was in original hello condition, we concatenated. So we concatenated world to it, right? So for it is still, so let's execute this. So if you observe, there is a difference in the output, right? So if you see in the first case, so string concat, when we concatenating, so and having the result stored it in a different object or a literal, then it is actually concatenating. Or what we can think it of like is, so for now, just forget about string one. So just we'll take this. See, it is only hello, right? So this is because string is not changed. Once it is created, you created hello, right? So hello will be created in the string constant pool. All right. Now, so when you do string concat, right? So you wanted to concatenate, meaning you wanted to append some other string to it. See, you did that on the string, right? And you're trying to display it. It is still hello, because string once created cannot be changed. So we cannot change the state of it. So it is still hello. It is still hello, right? What we can do, we are using the method on top of string, but if you wanted to have this as a new string, completely new string, right? Like how did we did earlier, string one, right? Then this will be a new string. This is not equal, this is not same as string str, right? Str1 is a new string. So let me call this a string one, just to have clarity. So if you see, string 2 is a new string where we are specific, where we wanted to construct a new string. We are having some method concat and we are building a new string. So this is fine. This will actually create a, what it does. So hello, comma world, right? So what usually JVM does according to our earlier understanding. So it will verify hello, comma world. Hello, comma world is that present in the string pool is what it will verify. If it is not present, it will go ahead and it will just create this, this statement called hello world, like this. Hello, comma world will be created as it is not present. So, but it is a different string 2. But if you observe, string 1 is still the same. It is not changed, right? So this is what we mean by string being immutable. So once string is created, so we can't change its value. So it will always be present in that string constant pool like that. And it only if you actually modify the reference of it, then it will modify. Like it will just modify the reference of it. Say for example, you may claim it like say for example, what happens like if I do something like this, string 1 equal to, say for example, Java. So if I actually display string 1, it will be Java, right? But what happens? String 1, hello is still there. Java will be created new, right? And you will get the reference of Java, but hello is still there, right? So you can't change the string, the first string which you have had it, right? But you can only change the reference to this string. So what it points to, you can only change that, but you can't change the actual string which is created, right? So this is what we mean by immutability, string being immutable. Yeah, string again, like Java is always case sensitive, right? So Java is case sensitive. It treats this and this as different. Though you may call it as Java, both as Java, these two are different to Java, right? So these two are like separate, like these two are two different strings to Java. It considers these two as two different strings, as there is a difference in the case, right? It's a H is a lowercase here and H is uppercase here. So it will consider two as two different strings. So this is the reason. So even though you reference string 1 equal to Java, you might think that string has been changed. No, it hasn't changed. It just changed its reference. Hello is still there in the string constant pool, right? So this is what we mean by immutability. So string once created, it cannot be changed. So very important topic. Changes reference that hello is still there in string pool, right? So this is what we need to understand, and we can understand it with this example as well, right? So what we did here, string one dot concat, right? So we are concatenating some other string to the earlier string, and we wanted to display the result of string one, right? So we asked it to concatenate the string, and then we asked it to concatenate this string to the string, and we wanted to display the result, right? So if you see, what did we get? We got the earlier string itself, the original value of string itself, hello. It did not concatenate it, and actually it did concatenate, but it's a different string. So the original string, string one, is still remains the same. It is still hello, right? So this is what we mean by immutability. So string once created cannot be changed. Now let us take the case of string buffer, how it works for string buffer. I wanted to comment it using. Okay. Okay. We'll take example of string buffer now. String buffer. String buffer is another class present within a java.lang package. So we don't need to import any separate package for it to use it. Now I'll have the same example, hello, and then we'll create. Now observe what I'm doing. I'll be doing the same part, string buffer dot. So instead of concat, we have a method called append. Both does the same task, but it's called append. Method is name is append within string buffer class, but the task which it does is the same. So it needs to append the string to the original string, right? So now string buffer dot append, right? Now let us display this string buffer now. Now if you observe, string buffer actually is modifying the actual value, original value, right? The same if you observe earlier, what did we do? String on string. So concat is a method which is used to combine two strings, right? So we use that method. But in that case, string was not modified, right? But in this case, when you take string buffer, so this is how we actually declare and initialize a string to a string buffer, right? So we did that, and we used a method called append. Append is its own method. So string buffer's own method to combine two strings, right? So any class can have any method, and it can have any definition for that method, right? Like that, likewise, so string buffer has some method called append, where it has some logic to append the two strings, but it is not, it doesn't matter now. The whole thing we matters here is, so it is actually concatenating these two strings or combining these two strings and giving us the result, meaning the actual string buffer object is modified. Actual string buffer object is modified, right? So this is what we mean by mutability. String buffer is mutable, can be changed. You can clearly see that, right? You can clearly see that. Or even if you want, right? So it itself, if you want, you can actually get that into some other object. Say for example, this is string buffer one, string buffer two. If you wanted to display this as well, it will be the same. You have to observe the difference. So earlier in string, even though when we are trying to concatenate something to it, so it never changed. But in case of string buffer, when you try to have some operation performed on it, so it is applied on that string buffer object, meaning it is changed. Like we can change the string buffer object. We just took an example called append here, just to compare how string n works compared to string buffer, right? So in the same way, string builder also works. The same way, string builder also works, right? So let me copy it. This is just, we can just modify it to string builder. That's it. We'll initialize the value to it, and then let's call this as string builder 1. We'll call this as string builder 2. It is the same. Like, what do I mean by same is like, this is also mutable. So let's verify it quickly. So if you see, again, the same output, right? Meaning, so string builder also is a class which is present in java.lang package. So you can see that. And now we actually created a string builder object. And then what we are doing, we are actually having a method applied on string builder, right? Append, right? And on top, like we append, we actually performed an operation and we wanted to display the value of string builder. So it has changed. This is what we need to observe. So just to confirm, we actually took it in another object and display. But this is even not required. Like this is all what we need to concentrate on, right? So it is getting changed. String builder is also changed, right? So when you wanted to perform some operation on string builder, it can be changed. So we can call this string builder also as mutable. String builder is also mutable. It can be changed. It can change its state, right? So is that clear? All right. So now we'll go to another topic. Like we'll just see uh, how it changes. Like for any other classes, right? So we have seen string buffer, and string builder, right? So when to use what? So string, we have to use it when we wanted to like have some constants. So because the string never changes, right? So if you wanted to perform like some operations on the string, so multiple manipulations, if you think that your string needs multiple manipulations and multiple operations on it, then you should not use string. So for any constants, like if you think that it is gonna be constant, fixed, changes very rarely or never changes, then you can declare the objects as strings. And string buffer, so when you say that, like when you see that there are like minimal operations performed, and when you wanted the synchronization is a concept which comes in multi-threading. So multi-threading is another concept where multiple tasks are executed parallelly in the sense concurrently at the same time. So we can execute multiple tasks at the same time using the concept called multi-threading, which is supported by Java. So there we get a concept called synchronization, where like the resources which are shared resources. So we actually get a concept of synchronization. So in that concept, like when we have multiple multi-threading, then we should be using string buffer and string builder. So it can be used for a single threaded application in the sense when we are running line of code, a block of code which is sequential, and we don't have any parallel tasks to be performed, then we can go for string builder. And even like if you have many manipulations onto your string, and it involves several operations on the string, then you can choose string builder for it. But synchronization is not guaranteed for string builder. So this is all about string buffer and string builder, and when to use these, right? Now, if it is clear, let's actually understand another concept. Another concept in the sense, same, it's related to the same. Like we'll see like how this mutable and immutability works for any other objects. We'll see if array is mutable or immutable. Let's say, for example, I have an array called array, and I'll have some number in it. Like this. Now, I wanted to display these numbers. So how do we do that? We know arrays is a class which has a toString method, and when we pass the array to it, we get these numbers in an array format. This we know. Fine. Now, so have this output here. All right. Now, there is another method in the arrays class which actually sorts the elements. Just performing arrays.sort of a sorts these elements. Right? This is a method, built-in method present in the arrays class, which actually sorts the elements within it. Right? So now we will print the object A. So if you observe, so this and this statement are same. Now let's check the output. But the output is different if you observe. The output is a sorted elements in the array. This is because we are performing sort operation on the array A. So if you see, the original array A got modified. So we are able to modify it by actually using some method on it. We are able to, this method could be anything, right? But for now, we just use some method on the arrays just to prove that array is mutable. We use some method on array and it has changed its state, right? So what we can conclude is arrays is a, array is a mutable object, mutable data structure, we can say, right? It can be changed. So string is mutable. Only string is mutable here, whatever we discussed today. String builder, string buffer are also similar to string and can be used for string operations. But string buffer and string builder are, we can actually change the state of them. Those are called as mutable, whereas string is immutable. So another important interview question: why string is immutable? So string was designed to be immutable so that it's because of security. One of the good reasons is security. So any attack, man in the middle attack like hacker, cannot actually change the string value, right? So if it is going on the transit, if it is in the transit string value, so we can't change it. So even though you change it, it will be referencing to a different the reference. So the reference will be changed, but the actual string remains the same, right? So string is not changed, that we have seen here in this example, right? So for security purpose, string was made immutable. As string is immutable, we can say that security is guaranteed. And also, that's one part. String is immutable, and this actually gives us the security purpose, right? And also, so string literals and it also actually gives us the performance as well. So good performance as the string is immutable. So it never changes, right? So it is always, you don't need to, you will not perform many operations on it. And also it will only create the new ones, even though if you wanted to have some changes on it. But the actual string never changes, right? So this is the reason string was immutable, right? Now, yeah. Now is that clear, today's session? If it is clear, we'll actually discuss the assignments for today. Is it clear, everyone? All right. So now we'll go through the assignments. So how to check a string is palindrome or not? We have seen it for numbers, right? So when we say string is a palindrome, when a string, if you actually read it from right to left, and if it is same as reading from left to right, say for example level, level, right? So if I reverse this string, it will again be level, right? So if both are equal, the original string and reversing of that string, both are same, the content of both are same, then we call that string as palindrome. So here, welcome is not palindrome, level is a palindrome. Like this. So this is the program we need to write. So take an input as one string and check if it is palindrome or not. If it is palindrome, print as, display it as palindrome, or else just display the output as not palindrome. So you can try it, and you can just if you are not able to get the logic, then you can actually refer this solution on my YouTube channel. And then how to remove white spaces in a string. So we know we can use trim, but trim actually trims only trailing and leading spaces, right? So whatever we have at the beginning and ending, if there are any spaces, white spaces or blank spaces, trim method can be used to actually remove those white spaces, which are trailing and leading. But we do have the white spaces in between the string, and we wanted to remove those white spaces and have the output something like this. So how do we write a logic for that? So try to write a program for this. So hint here is replace method. And how do you find the duplicate characters in a string? So what are duplicate characters? So here input is success. So if you see, yes, character is repeated 3 times here, right? So it is called, it's a duplicate. Even C is repeated 2 times. So C is a duplicate. But U and E are appears only 1 time in this word, right? So it is not duplicate. So S and C are duplicates in this word. Likewise, taken any word, so taken any word as an input, you have to output if there are any duplicate characters. If there are any duplicate characters, then you have to say that what display what those duplicate characters are in that word. So you can try that this program as well. Try to write logic for this. No, count words in a string. So this itself is one string, right? So take this as one string. So how do you count the words? This is one word, second word, third word. Even this can be considered one word, and this is one word. So there are 5 words in this complete string. So that has to be the output, right? So you can try these assignments on your own, and if you are not able to write the logic for that, you can watch these solutions on the YouTube channel. Any questions? I'm going to stop here.